Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Niyati and today I'm going to be reviewing all the 25 books I read in 2025. Probably with more jokes than required. To keep things simple and to stop my brain from short circuiting, I'm going to divide this by genre instead of reading order. So let's start with the era I did not emotionally recover from. My murder mystery era. The first book I read this year was Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. The short summary of it is there's a girl named Pip who became famous in her town for solving a murder mystery in the first book. When her friend's brother, Jamie Reynolds, goes missing and the police label it as a runaway case, Pip agrees to investigate. It starts a simple search but quickly goes into something far more dangerous. This book is literally perfect. I rated it 5 stars. I love it. You have to read it for yourself. I can't recommend it enough. Then the series takes a much darker turn with the third and final book, As Good as Dead. Here Pip isn't just investigating crime, she becomes the target. Someone begins stalking her, leaving threats and cryptic messages. At the same time, Pip starts to investigate another case because she feels like the person who's stalking her and the murder of that case might be connected. The book is way darker than the first two, which I did not expect at all. And I didn't really like the book, but I enjoyed it, if that makes sense. It's like watching two people punch each other on the streets. It's not, you don't like it, but it's fun to watch, let's be honest. I won't give any spoilers for the ending, and even if I did, I would sound crazy because the things that happen in the end. After I finished the book, I just kind of sat there in shock, staring at the wall, trying to figure out what the hell I just read. I rated this 2 stars, but I feel like my rating might change if I reread it. Now, switching from modern crime to a timeless classic, I picked up And Then There Were None by famous author Agatha Christie. In it, 10 strangers are invited to a remote island under mysterious circumstances. One by one, they begin to die. Each death similar to a nursery rhyme. With no way off the island, the remaining people must discover which of them is the murderer before it's too late. This was my second Agatha Christie book ever and definitely the best one I've ever read. It's classic murder mystery with an amazing plot twist. If you haven't read it, what are you doing with your life? 4 stars. Another Christie novel, because I kind of got obsessed with her books, A Murder is Announced. In a quiet village, a newspaper ad announces the time and place of a murder, as if it was a party invitation. When someone actually dies, the community is forced to uncover what secrets are hiding behind the surface. Boring is the perfect word for this book. I already wasted time reading it. I'm not gonna waste time reviewing it. It had a lot of potential, but honestly, it was wasted and it was so boring. Then I read a modern thriller with an absolutely wild premise, the reappearance of Rachel Price. Basically, years after a woman disappears and is thought of as dead by everyone who knows her, she suddenly reappears, claiming that she was kidnapped. But her story doesn't really make sense. Her daughter, Belle, the main character of this book, digs into what really happened and discovers long buried family secrets and a shocking truth. I love the premise of this book. I mean, a missing person coming back from the dead and their story doesn't add up. Amazing. The way it mixes murder mystery with family drama is so good. The plot twist made my jaw drop. But it wasn't perfect. Belle, the main character, she's so unlikable. I just want to punch her whenever she has a scene. Especially how she talked to Ash, one of the other main characters. And spoiler, you might wanna skip this part a few seconds. Charlie being the mastermind and like the one who, was the reason for Rachel's kidnapping was like, it felt like it came out of nowhere. And Carter, another character, who is Belle's cousin at the beginning, but it's revealed that she's actually her biological sister. It like, what was the point of it? Why did they feel the need to add it? It was already a good book. We didn't need to add that whole, oh my god, she's secretly your sister. But like overall, it's a really good, well-written book with amazing plot twists. So still, then came my Percy Jackson or my like Greek mythology era. I get obsessed with it like every year. It's not new. After all that murder and emotional damage, I needed some Greek mythology. So I started with Percy Jackson, The Titan's Curse, which is the third book in the series. Percy and his friends go on a quest to rescue Annabeth and the goddess Artemis, who has been kidnapped while they are hunting a dangerous monster. Their journey reveals part of the imprisoned god Kronos' plan to overthrow the current gods and use the demigods, especially Luke, to help him. In case that summary didn't make sense, you need to read the books because, yeah. I don't know how to make it make sense. Just read the first book. It's really good. Trust. This book was also really good and the jokes were amazing as usual. But I just felt like something was missing. I can't explain it. Maybe I'm just crazy. Just read it. You'll probably love it. 3 stars. The tension increases even more in Percy Jackson, The Battle of the Labyrinth. In it, Percy, Annabeth, Grover and Tyson must navigate the ever-changing labyrinth to stop an army from invading Camp Half-Blood. Along the way, they search for the god Pan and uncover the tragic truth about okay, the word is in my script, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Daedalus, the maze's creator. This was even better than the Titan's Curse, and Rachel, one of my favorite characters, finally gets her spotlight. For those who've read it, the blue hairbrush scene is my favorite. 4 stars. Then comes the last book in the series, The Last Olympian. It is the final battle between the Olympian gods and Kronos that takes place in New York City. While the gods fight a monster named Typhon, Percy and the other demigods defend Mount Olympus in a war that decides all their fates. My review is that it is one of my favorite books in the series. We finally get Hestia, who is one of my favorite Greek mythology gods, because she's just like so chill. She has no drama. She's just existing. What an icon. The ending was amazing and the final battle was perfectly written. 4 stars. Then I started reading the Heroes of Olympus series. For those who don't know, it's set in the same universe as the Percy Jackson series, but it follows new main characters named Jason, Piper and Leo, who must stop Gaia, the ancient earth goddess, from awakening. Their journey connects Roman mythology and Greek mythology in one massive crossover. My unpopular opinion is that I like this series way more than the original. Please don't kill me, Percy Jackson fans. Leo, Piper and Jason are just more interesting and relatable to me. Then comes the second book, The Son of Neptune. In it, Percy, the main character of the original books, finally returns. But he has no memory and is now at a Roman demigod camp. Along with 2 other demigods named Hazel and Frank, he must journey through Alaska to stop a giant from rising and reconnect with his past. Hazel is definitely one of my top 3 Percy Jackson characters. I love her so much. So this book, recommended. Then comes The Mark of Athena. 8 Greek and Roman demigods finally unite aboard a flying ship. Annabeth is the center of this book while she goes on a deadly solo mission that forces her to confront her greatest fear. I'm gonna be honest, I never understood why everyone loved Annabeth so much until I reached this book. After this, I finally get it. Oh my god, she's such a good character. Then came my YA slash fantasy era. Now we enter the chaotic world of book talk and booktube. First up was Powerless. In a kingdom where how strong your magical abilities are decides your status, Peyton, our main character, hides the fact that she has no powers. Then she is forced into the Purging Trial, which is a deadly competition meant only for the strongest of people. There she has to hide the fact that she's completely powerless, like the name of the book, and with the princess Kai and Kit. I rated this book 3 stars. It has amazing drama and some really good romance scenes, even for a non-romance reader like me. But it's not very original, like it feels like a copy of other books. But still, it's fun, and let's be honest, all fantasy books follow the same format. Then came the second book in the series, Reckless. This book is almost entirely spoilers for the first book, so I won't give any, but I'll just say the stakes are even higher in this one. I like this way more than Powerless. Unpopular opinion again. Everyone else disagrees, but the drama and the lines were like so good in this one. Then came Powerful, which is book 1.5, yes, 1.5 of the Powerless series. This focuses on Adina, who was Peyton's best friend from the first book, giving her a proper story of her own. I usually hate spin offs about side characters, but this one was amazing. Next was To Kill a Kingdom. It's a dark retelling of The Little Mermaid, where a siren princess named Lyra collects the hearts of sailors and princes, while a human prince named Ilian tries to hunt her down. I loved everything, the plot, the drama, and especially the writing. Oh my god, so good. But the final battle felt really rushed. Also, I wish the book was longer because the characters are so good. I literally fell in love with them. Then I picked up Better Than the Movies. It's a rom-com about two characters, Liz and Wes. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways, Liz and Wes. I came into this book expecting a typical boring rom-com full of tropes. What I got instead was an amazing, interesting rom-com full of tropes. I mean, yeah, there's a reason tropes exist. They work really, really well. The only thing I dislike about this book is Wes's name. Wes? Short for Wesley? I mean, seriously, like, what was the author thinking? Anyways, thank you, Lynn Painter. Yet another name tragedy. You should have been named Lynn Writer instead. Next was Shatter Me. In a dystopian world, Juliet's touch is lethal. She's locked away as a weapon, and she must decide whether she's a monster or someone who can change everything. I love the world building and the erratic writing that gets more normal as Juliet begins to take control of her life. It's like every chapter in this book has at least one amazing quote. And this book was super fast paced, which I absolutely love. And it's the reason why I completed it in 1.5 days. Also because I have no line, but like, let's ignore that. But the ending was so rushed, it felt like the author was like, oh, I have reached the word count, let me end it here. Instead of like properly ending it. I don't know if that's just me, but it felt really rushed. Then came The Book Thief, which unfortunately I could not steal for a library. I'm so sorry. It's very inaccurate. It's set in Nazi Germany. Probably should not have made a joke before that. Anyways, it's set in Nazi Germany and narrated by Death. It follows a young girl who finds comfort in stealing books and sharing stories during one of history's darkest times. This book is perfection. I refuse to give you any spoilers by reviewing it. Just read it. Trust me, it's amazing. Then came Upside Down Magic. You might be wondering, this sounds like a children's book. Why did I read that? And I will tell you, first of all, there is no fixed age to read a book. And second of all, I don't know why I read it. There were literally no other options available in the library I go to. And since my parents are already paying a subscription fee, I picked it up. It was really fun and brought back my childhood memories of reading it, but it doesn't really suit my taste now. It was one of the books that got me into reading, so I gave it 3 stars. Then I read it Amari and the Night Brothers. I have been wanting to read this book since I was 11, but I always forgot. I finally read it this time and it was so worth it. I always love books that revolve around like secret societies hiding magic from the rest of the world, which is a surprisingly popular trope. 4 stars. Then came the book I have been wanting to read for literally forever, The Hunger Games, which is probably one of the most popular books ever, and that's for a good reason. It is amazing. I literally could not put it down, it was that good. And then I ran out of books to read in my library again. So I read Sticks and Stones, the second book of Upside Down Magic, which I had read earlier. It brought back even more childhood nostalgia for me. Then I read The Girl Who Drank the Moon. In it, a baby accidentally gets magical powers from moonlight and is raised by a kind witch, a swamp monster, and a tiny dragon. I'm going to be honest, I DNF'd this book when I first read it because I thought it was like really unrealistic and dumb. But I read it again and oh my god, I was wrong. What I thought was an unbelievable story was just whimsical. The perfect word to describe this book is whimsy. And yes, I'm obsessed with that word and will never stop using it. The story is amazing and managed to develop so many characters without it feeling rushed. I love every single one of these characters. My favorite was probably Antane, but Luna, our main character, is a very close second. Then finally Catching Fire, which is the second book in the Hunger Games, and definitely the one with the most plot twists. Suzanne Collins better pay for my jaw therapy because the way my jaw dropped when I reached the end. The plot twist was amazing, but the way it was explained was like super rushed. They fit what was secretly going on in the entire book into 3 paragraphs. I hope that gets fixed in the third book, but besides that, this was an amazing read. And that is the end of my 2025 book overview. Thank you if you watched this far and let me know your thoughts and what books you read last year. Bye!